Hello, everyone, and welcome into episode 23 of the Cleveland Sports Realm. I'm Jerome. That's Kevin. That's Derek over there. You can't see him. We can. And we're here to bring you another week of hopefully what you find to be insightful and engaging and fun sports talk.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it for sure, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. Let's start with a team that we need to give some love. We haven't not talked about that much at all recently. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kevin, beating the hell out of the Chicago Bulls last night, shooting over 50% from the three-point line and clinching the all-important 1 seed.
Yeah, very important to get that 1 seed, especially with that home court advantage that we're hoping to get in the Eastern Conference Finals, specifically if we do match up with Boston. I know your one friend had said he thinks they're going to be a second-round exit, that the Cavs are. I still think with the second half of the season that didn't go as great as the first, but still a great second half of the season. I still expect the Cavs to at least get to the conference finals. But very important to get that so important 1 seed and home court advantage throughout the East.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for a lot of people, they've kind of been, frustrated with the Cavs of late. And it's not necessarily that they've been playing so terribly. It's just that in the first half, they just won every night. And we kind of, as fans, got used to that. So when we didn't see them win every night, we got a little frustrated and, kind of annoyed, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you could say they put an expectation out there for us that wasn't really realistic. Beginning of the season, I think everybody would agree that we were looking at thinking that we were going to be probably a 4 seed, maybe 3 seed at best. Being that 50, hopefully we get to 50 wins, and now they easily surpass 60. And we were thinking halfway through the year, this might be a 70-win basketball team. When in reality, looking back at the 70-win teams, like the Michael Jordan Bulls, like the 2016 Warriors, this team, I wouldn't say was up to those standards. They didn't have the star power of those teams. Now, we still obviously have a top 10 player in Donovan Mitchell, but regardless, just backtracking here, but very important to get that 1 seed for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, look, last night was win 63.
Yep.
So the max they can do is tie the LeBron team of the first LeBron era at 66.
2009, right?
I believe so.
Yep.
And that would be a franchise. They tie the franchise record because that team did set the record. But it's not necessarily going to be easy because you have New York or Indiana and New York on a back-to-back because we record this on Wednesday, April 9th. So tomorrow you go to Indiana, then Friday to the Knicks, and then Sunday is when it all wraps up, and I believe it's Indiana against Sunday.
Did the Knicks beat the Celtics the other night? Weren't they facing the Celtics the other night?
I believe they did.
Because I remember there was a graphic that the Knicks were 0-8 against the Celtics and the Cavs. And I believe they just faced the Celtics in the last few days, but I did not see if they were able to pull it off. And if they weren't able to, then they're 0-9 against the East top 2 seeds, and that's not good for them. So looks like you might be pulling it up right now to see if I'm checking they did face them
right now.
Okay. But yeah, the Knicks they've been one of those teams. It seems like whenever they face an elite team in their way.
So they lost in overtime, 119-117. Boston won.
So they're 0-9 against the Cavs and the Celtics.
Right.
So that game's actually pretty important for the Knicks. It obviously depends on how many starters and how many minutes that the Cavs will be playing their key guys in terms of how that game goes. But if the Cavs are playing fully healthy and they're actually planning on going for the record or going to tie the franchise record for wins in a season, then the Knicks might have their hands full. But I could just see the Cavs playing the starters 15 to 20 minutes and just kind of coasting into the playoffs.
Well, we'll see how they approach this, right? Because they have all good teams left, right? I mean, you have Indiana, New York, and then Indiana. So,
okay.
So that's all teams that are going to be in the playoffs. So I actually wouldn't mind seeing the Cavaliers play at least full, like maybe on Sunday you rest everybody.
Sure.
But Thursday and Friday, I wouldn't mind seeing them, go full throttle still.
And Donovan, he's going to be out for the remainder of the regular season, correct, with that sprained ankle, or are they expecting him to be back for one of these games?
That's one guy. Like when I say full throttle, I would not rush him back for any of these 3 games.
I wouldn't either.
Let him sit on the bench and rest. And the good thing is, I hate the play-in tournament, but
Same.
when you're not in it, it gives all the playoff teams a little bit more rest. That might be just what the Cavs or the doctor ordered for the Cavaliers and Donovan.
Yeah, that's a good point. The only thing that I get a little bit worried about is when Donovan was on that stretch earlier this year where he was getting over that injury, is that when he came back, he actually looked pretty rusty. So I don't want to see him with any rust going into even the first round. I don't want to see a 5-game playoff series. I want us as the 1 seed, sweep who you're facing, sweep whoever comes out of the play-in tournament, get to round 2, then maybe we see somebody steals a game on their home floor or something like that.
Right.
We need Donovan to be Donovan, or we have no shot of getting past the Celtics in the conference finals.
No, I completely agree, and not only look for everybody. A lot of people, I'd say, have some uneasiness and some nerves about the Cavaliers right now, but I think if you sweep the first round, that reinstills confidence and reignites the fan base right now. And even last night, doing what you should have done against a crappy Bulls team, that's a good thing.
And without your best player, too. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know the Bulls aren't the best team in the NBA, obviously. By any means, they stink. But you still beat a team without your best player by, what was it, like 30 points or something ridiculous like that? Like that's still a very impressive win to me. Maybe that's me being a homer, but I feel like that's still a very impressive win.
Well, they shot the daylights out of the ball last night, and 135-113 was the final.
Okay, I know they were up. They had to have been up at 30 at one point, I think I saw. But
I mean, they shot really, really well last night. As I mentioned earlier,
I saw Ty Jerome was scorching, wasn't he?
Yeah, they shot 50% from 3, which, I mean, that's going to help against anybody. And Garland played real well. Ty Jerome was 7 of 11 from the floor. And I think, when somebody's not available, sometimes it shows just how valuable they are. Ty Jerome missing those games with his knee injury, or his knee tendonitis, I should say, to clarify, it really showed how valuable he is to the Cavaliers. I mean, this guy, really, I don't understand how he's not really getting more talk about it for 6th man of the year. And we've kind of campaigned for it for a while back in the mid-season on this podcast. But you look at the odds on favorites to win it, the guy's nowhere mentioned. I don't understand it, Kevin.
Yeah, and the thing that's, I think, the most impressive to me isn't even the numbers that he puts up. I think it's how much better the team clearly, like the eye test of how much better the Cavs are with him. Just even when he's just on the bench, even when the starters are out there doing their thing, when he comes up, for some reason, they just looks different when Ty Jerome is in the rotation. And that's where we always saw those double-digit wins. It was always with Ty Jerome coming off the bench, obviously. And when he's healthy and when he's humming, this team's basically unstoppable, it feels like. The thing that worries me is that this Cavs team has been such a great three-point shooting team all year, except for when they run into those damn Celtics. It's like it's like the moment gets too big for them for some reason. And I think that's a major concern going into these playoffs. I don't think we're going to have a problem in the first, second round with shooting. Now, going back to your point when you said there's a little bit of worry potentially in this fan base, or a little bit of paranoia maybe is a better word to use based off the last 2 years, because the playoffs haven't gone how we expected either of these years. Donovan Mitchell's first year here, we're the 4 seed. We get the New York Knicks. We have home court advantage. And it seems like from top to bottom roster-wise, the Cavs have the better roster, and the Knicks just out-toughed us the entire series. We lose in 5. One of the most disappointing seasons from me watching a Cavs team, quite honestly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expected them to kind of coast through that Knicks series. And I
was one of them.
I kind of told folks I predicted the Cavs to win in 7. But I said it's going to be a lengthy series, and it ended up not being. I mean, even me. And people were telling me I was being, I was pushing an anti-Cavs agenda by saying it was going to be a 7-game series. I said, no, the Knicks are just tough. But I don't think anybody, maybe outside of like Spike Lee and the Knick Coalition, saw a 5-game Knick gentleman's sweep.
No, I don't think anybody did. And actually going into that series, I thought it was going to be the complete opposite. I thought it was going to be a Cavs gentleman's sweep against the Knicks. So, and then Jalen Brunson was unbelievable. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland had their poor shooting performances. Darius Garland was awful in that series. And then the following year, we get the Magic, the young Magic team, where we had the playoff experience the year before, and you feel confident going into that. I thought it was going to be a sweep or a 5-game series against that Magic team. I genuinely did, and it went 7. Even though we won that series, it genuinely felt like, even though we won in 7, it felt like it was a very disappointing outcome from that series.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we almost lost Game 7. We were down, 15 points
we were down
at
by
home?
20 points in the second quarter, and it took a Donovan Mitchell heroic effort. And look, the thing that always has bothered me is we played so well in the one game we won against Boston, and then Evan Mobley kind of stepped up pretty big in that series and played well. But the thing that we never got a good look at it because the Celtics didn't have Kristaps and we didn't have Jared and Donovan. Yep. So with everybody go at full throttle, I'm curious to see how things go this year. And like you said, I hope we get there. And to me, Kevin, if we don't get there, it's a failure of a season.
It's an absolute failure of a season if this team isn't represented in the conference finals.
Yeah.
You can't start the year 15-0. I think it ended up being 34-4 or 36-4. One of those, through their first 38 games, they only had like 4 losses. You cannot be a second round exit at that point. You can't. You've got Kenny Atkinson, who's I think a co-favorite right now for Coach of the Year with former Cavs coach J.B. Bickerstaff. You've got 2 of the top 5 favorites for 6th Man of the Year. Ty Jerome, one of the favorites for Most Improved. Like, you have all these people that are getting nationally recognized for their contributions to a team that's the number 1 seed in the East. You cannot be a second round exit. It would be unacceptable.
Inexcusable.
Yeah.
And on that note, talk about guys' favorite. What is this horse crap about Draymond Green as Defensive Player of the Year? I'm sorry. Maybe I'm pushing a Cleveland agenda here. How could Evan Mobley not? He's been the best defensive player in the entire league. And what? Because Draymond might retire, we're going to give him the award because he had a good career and it was a good defender? It's ridiculous. It's unfair to Evan Mobley, and it's horse shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hey, listen, no, that's fine. I think it's ridiculous as well, and I 100% agree with you. We were looking at the DPOY of the year odds, ever since basically Victor Wembanyama's been out, or he had that season-ending injury, and it was between Jaren Jackson and Evan Mobley. They were basically co-favorites for the award, and then Evan Mobley ran away with it because they had a couple head-to-head battles that Mobley clearly dominated Jaren Jackson.
Outperformed him big
clearly
time.
Outperformed him. And then I'm not a big, huge Draymond Green podcast listener. I just don't listen to his podcast. But from what I was reading, he was advocating for himself to be the Defensive Player of the Year and all this. And then all of a sudden, I had not seen his name in the discussions for the award at all, and all of a sudden he had become the favorite. Like, I didn't see him in the top 5, I didn't see him in the top 7, and all of a sudden he was the favorite over Evan Mobley because what, he went on his podcast and said he's a great defender? Like, I saw Darius Garland, and kudos to Darius Garland, great teammate. Him and Evan Mobley were in their post-game press conference, and Darius said, Evan's not a guy that likes to talk a lot like some people do. Clearly hinting at Draymond Green talking about himself.
Draymond Green has been a loudmouth all the way back to his days at Michigan State. He was a loudmouth.
Yeah, absolutely he has been. And Darius said, Evan's a guy that keeps to himself. If he's not going to talk about himself, then I will. And Garland listed out all the stats that clearly make Mobley a better candidate for Defensive Player of the Year than Draymond Green. And he closed off he capped it off by saying, whenever Evan wants to speak on it, he can, but that's what I have to say about it. And major kudos to Darius Garland, man, for the stuff that he's gone through, last season with the injuries and the inconsistent play and, 2023 having a bad playoff performance against the Knicks. He's been a true and true Cleveland Cavalier. He's defended his guys through and through whenever him and Donovan Mitchell, whenever there's been that confusion on, they don't get along off the court or they don't get along on the court, they don't fit well. Always came out and spoke positive about Mitchell. Mitchell did the same thing. There's something special in that locker room. We've talked about it, the last few months as well. And I'm excited to see where this team goes, and I'm just excited with the camaraderie that this team has.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'll tell you, I can't look. I agree with you on everything you hit on Darius too. And Darius is definitely. And I don't know, I guess I can give Kenny Atkinson credit for a lot of that. He seemed to be more of a true and through leader this year than any other year of his career.
Yes.
And that also could be his natural maturation process stepping up too.
Yeah, it could be. And I mean, we can also keep in mind, when he was the head coach of the Nets, they had D'Angelo Russell obviously at that time, and he had that breakout year. And obviously Karis LeVert, former Cavalier, and then Jared Allen were on those teams as well. But Kenny Atkinson did not have the star power that he has with this Cavs team. He did not have a top 10 player in the league. He didn't have, I'll say it, a top 10 point guard to go along with him. I think Darius Garland's very much a top 10 point guard in this league. He didn't have a defensive player of the year candidate in Evan Mobley. He had Jared Allen, obviously. But you get all these pieces for a guy that outperformed what the Nets were supposed to do with them. You give him superstar pieces, and look where this team is.
Right, absolutely. I completely agree with that. But yeah, I really appreciate Darius saying that, because Evan is a quiet kid. He's not. Yeah. He's not a talker. He's not a. He's not a talk crapper type of guy on the court either. And I think Evan is not going to advocate for himself. He's not. So his veteran point guard going up there and advocating for him is really cool to see. I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll see what happens next time here on the CSR when the Cavs come back. We'll actually, we probably won't know who they're playing because the play-in will be going on. But
we can discuss the different matchups, potential matchups.
And we will.
Yeah, exactly.
But the regular season will be officially over. And Kevin, we said this like a month and a half ago on the podcast. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Like this last month or so of the regular season really seemed to drag for me as a fan.
It did for me too, because you knew they were a top 2 seed, and we still obviously threw the games on and watched when we could and stuff. It wasn't like we were completely disinterested with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
No, we still watch plenty of action.
Of course, yeah. It's one of those things, when you cement yourself into the playoffs, you're going to be a top 2 seed, probably the number 1 seed. I think it's just easy to look forward towards the playoffs. Those games where you're facing, the Pistons or all these teams, the Hornets. Well,
they're
you
not
can't
as
even
throw
interesting.
the Pistons in that category.
Well, I know that's why I changed what I just said.
Yeah.
That's why I changed what I just said, because the Pistons have had a phenomenal year, and JB Bickerstaff's had a great year there. But the Hornets, the bad teams in the league, it's hard to get amped up for those when you know that you're in the playoffs, you're looking towards bigger games ahead.
Right, and we will be able to do that next week here. So. Congratulations again to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Really wonderful to see, and hopefully this journey's far from over.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're going to move on here, and I think we're going to talk a little bit of football. And silly season is in ridiculous form as things seem to be just out of control. And I heard somebody say it the other day, and I believe it. This is the silliest, maybe silly season we've seen of all time. I mean, it's out of control.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot about how this is one of the silliest seasons of NFL draft maybe ever. But I mean, the latest news, at least Browns wise, with the number 2 pick, you and I have debated. You've been on the Shedeur train, not necessarily that you want them, but that's what you think that they're going to do, the Shedeur train. Where I've been on the Abdul Carter train of that's who I want and that's who I think that they're going to take. And rumor broke within the last 4 days or so.
Well, the whole Browns brass was out there on Friday in Boulder.
Yeah, for the pro day.
I mean, everybody went. Jimmy went, D went, Andrew, Kevin, offensive coordinator. I mean, they were all there. Tommy Reese, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
They really showed up in full force, and boy, that's got to tell you they are very interested in either of those 2 Colorado kids, huh?
Yeah, they must be. I mean, clearly, number 2 pick has now come down to Hunter, Shedeur, and Carter. The betting odds just went in favor of Travis Hunter at number 2. And I'm gonna have to agree with it. I think at this point, I'm finally gonna flip my tune. I've been on the Carter train there. You almost talked me into Shedeur a couple weeks ago, if you remember. But I think I am gonna hop on the Hunter train. And I think I would be okay with it. if it was Hunter. We need help at receiver. Don't know what's going on with Elijah Moore. At least I don't think. I haven't seen any news with Elijah Moore lately. Jerry Jeudy obviously coming off a Pro Bowl year, but outside of him and David Njoku, you still have an unproven Cedric Tillman who's had some pretty good plays when he's been given the opportunities, but he's not
unfortunately been able to stay on the field.
Exactly. So you get, and Andrew Berry's one of those. He came out and said he views Travis Hunter primarily as a receiver, and I think it's one of those things, and Deion Sanders actually said this at his pro day. They had asked him, if you were a GM or a coach, where would you start Travis Hunter? And Deion Sanders, being the defensive player that he is, took me by surprise and said he would start Hunter on offense. Reason being, defense, you got cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, man coverage. The idea is simplistic.
Right,
of the defense. You know that there's going to be some man coverage, blitz, cover 2, cover 3, like we were just saying. Offense, especially the Kevin Stefanski offense that likes to throw in little wrinkles here and there. There's a lot to learn in those offenses. So throw him in on offense first, get him used to the playbook there, then mix him in on defense. I still view him primarily, I would still use him as primarily a corner, throw him in for 20 to 25 plays offensively and go from there. But if they're going to go offense, then mix him in on defense. For a team that needs everything, to get 2 players and one at number 2, I think would be okay for me.
I think it's something that can make sense. And then to me, that the question then becomes, so are you going to trade back up into the first round for Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart? Because I'm cool with taking Hunter, but I stand by what I said. Yeah. If you don't take a quarterback, it is a failure of a draft to me. So I lost my train of thought. Then again, okay, you take Travis Hunter, you best be getting back up there for a quarterback or take one early in the second round. But if they start flying like off the board left and right, then you're going to have to trade back up in the first round, because the bottom line is, and we've said it time and time again here on this podcast, going into the year with Kenny Pickett is completely ridiculous.
I agree. Now, I will counter this with, if they pick a quarterback with the first pick in the second round, I am going to be furious. I'm going to be absolutely furious.
Why?
Because if you're going to pick a quarterback with the first pick in the second round, and we have 4 6th-round picks, 2 3rd-round picks, 4th-round, we have all this draft capital, at least get back into the first round with that second-round pick and use some of your later draft picks to get that 5th-year option on your guy, and at least show him that you weren't just sitting back and waiting for him, and instill confidence in him. Go up, get him, get the 5th year. He's a first-round pick at that point. You've shown him that he's an actual investment for your ball club. But if they sit back and wait in the second round, you're waiting for scraps, in my opinion. At that point, with how deep this is as a running back class, the uncertainty of Nick Chubb, I'm going after a Travion Henderson. I'm going after a Caleb Johnson. I'm going after the Dylan Sampsons, possibly with that pick. And maybe 3rd, 4th round, I still like, I love Will Howard as a 3rd, 4th round pick. I've been very vocal about that. I think the other, like Quinn Ewers at 3rd round pick. Now, I don't love him.
I think he stinks.
I don't love him, but I like him better than a Tyler Shuck at the top of the second round. Right. I like him better than that. I like him better than a Jalen Milroe. Actually, I don't know if I like him better than Jalen Milroe with the upside, but you get the point. Sit back and wait. I'm not a fan. I would rather just, hey, a 2nd-round pick and 2 of these 6th, or 2nd-round pick and a 4th, move up 5, 6 spots, maybe even just up 1 spot to get that 5th-year option, let your quarterback be drafted. If you're going to take one in the first 2 rounds, I would just trade up into the first round and get them.
See, I don't know about that, because to me it all depends on how the board's going, right?
Sure, no, 100%.
If they wait back and none of these kids are going, then they have the pick of the litter at the top of the second round, then go ahead. But I don't trading back up into the first round, unless you feel you have to, don't do it unless it's like they got to see how the board's falling. But to me, if they took a quarterback at the top of the second round, I'd be happy with, again, I don't care where they take one, just draft a damn quarterback.
What's your stance on Tyler Shuck?
I'd rather not.
Same.
Yeah, I'd rather not. I like the Milroe kid from Bama better.
I do too.
I really like the Jackson Dart kid. I really do. I think he's going to be real good.
Okay. See, I'm higher on Dart, I think, than I am on Sanders, to be honest with you. But I don't think I'm higher. I don't know if I'm higher on Dart than Will Howard. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Really?
Really.
Well, Will Howard's an interesting prospect too, because, nobody talked about him as an NFL quarterback, but then when you kind of roll through the college football thing like he did and win the national championship, then your name's just naturally going to get thrown in there. And then also, he was super accurate in the playoffs down the stretch. His accuracy was like second to none in college football.
I think even excluding the playoffs, I want to say he was a 70+% completion percentage. Was he not?
I also heard from some of these draft geeks, and they know much better than I do, that Will Howard's super hard to evaluate because of how much NFL talent he had around him.
Well, I've made the I don't want to say comparison, but I have mentioned these two players in the same sentence before. Joe Burrow had maybe the best offense of all time around him.
Right.
And nobody discredited it. He went number 1 overall.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Folks can pick apart anything. These draft geeks will find anything to pick apart, right?
Oh, of
so
course.
If they think that Will Howard was no good, they're going to find some excuse, whether it's he had too many NFL talent around. Like, they'll always find something to criticize. That's just the way it is during silly season.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would criticize about Will Howard is just his career at Kansas State was pretty inconsistent. He was hovering around, I think most of his career there, he was in the 50% completion percentage. I think there was one year he might have gotten above 60. But I did just check the Ohio State stats on Howard. He was at 73% for the year.
That's really good.
That's unbelievable. And we're talking about, Shedeur Sanders with the above 70% completion percentage, how accurate he is. But they're holding the NFL caliber offense against Will Howard. Shedeur Sanders is thrown to probably going to be the number 2 overall pick in the entire draft.
Potentially. We'll see. It's getting close, which thank God, because I'm just so sick of hearing about it. The draft.
I love it.
Oh, I'm so sick of it.
I absolutely love it.
I'm so sick about it.
Which, you know what's interesting? What are the Giants going to do if Hunter is off the board? Because the Giants love those flashy picks. They love being in that flashy market.
Yeah, the thing to me is
they want Hunter.
You signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, so I don't know. Would they draft Shedeur then, you think?
I think at that point it'd be Shedeur or Carter. I do think it'd be crazy if we saw something because they have Kayvon Thibodeau, they have Brian Burns. They don't necessarily edge isn't like a screaming need.
No, that's actually probably one of their most deepest areas of the team.
So if it's not Shedeur, could we see somebody like a Mason Graham go? Because outside of Dexter Lawrence, do they have another interior big man?
No, nobody that's as good as Mason Graham.
Yeah, and I know Evan Neal's had a very, very inconsistent.
Evan Neal's been terrible.
He's been horrible. So, maybe we do see a lineman like a Will Campbell or Armand Membu go at number 3. Maybe it's not as clear-cut as we think it is between Sanders or Carter there if Hunter goes at 2.
Well, the thing to me is I still, I'm pretty much convinced that the Browns aren't going to take, as of right now, convinced the Browns aren't going to take Abdul Carter.
Okay.
I
so you think it's between the Colorado boys?
I think there's going to be a Colorado Buffalo wearing brown and orange. The fact that, look, and maybe I'm looking too much into this, but for all those people to go to Colorado's pro day was kind of like a telltale sign to me. But then again, it seems that everybody knows the Titans are taking Cam Ward. But folks, really, the Browns are doing a good job of holding the cards close to the vest because even the top of draft geeks, the Kuipers and McShays of the world, they seem to have no clue what the hell the Browns are doing.
Yeah, and the Browns have actually been pretty good at this since Dorsey took over in 2018. Nobody knew what they were doing at 1. Denzel Ward was completely out of the blue when they took him in the top 4 of that draft.
A lot of the geeks mocked Bradley Chubb to us.
Yeah, Bradley Chubb was the popular pick. And if you remember, the 5th pick that year were the Broncos, and they had a trade in place with the Bills for the Bills to come up to get Allen, but because they didn't think that Chubb was going to be available. And then they had to basically revoke the trade with the Bills and say, hey, we can't do this. We never thought in a million years Bradley Chubb would be here.
Well, to be completely honest with you, man, I forgot about all that. But as you know, you're our resident draft expert here.
I
listen,
have a little bit of I come by this completely honestly. I have a little bit of the tism when it comes to the NFL draft. From years like 2007 to 2018, maybe 2020, I was so honed in on it. I still remember a lot of the drafts in the back of my head.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm like the resident baseball geek. I could tell you something that happened in 2007, in the second inning of a meaningless July Indians game. But when they were the Indians back then. But I'm not saying I'm, uneducated or I don't know about the draft. It's not much of a strong suit for me as it is you.
Oh, it's a top 3 sporting event of the year for me.
Yeah, it doesn't even come in my top 10, man. I mean,
love it.
And the thing is, to me, I don't know if I guess it is a sporting event, but a bunch of grown men walking around in $5,000 suits.
So exciting.
I don't know,
this is the guy. You say the Masters is your number one thing, and it's just a bunch of people putting green jackets on.
Hey, it's Masters weekend this weekend,
I know.
And we'll get
That's
there.
That's why I bring it up.
We will get there. Because I saw the practice round. Unfortunately, got rained out, but on Monday. But anyway, we'll get there. But
Yeah.
no, so
But the Browns at Colorado's Pro Day.
yeah, so back to that. I really do. I'm pretty strongly convinced that they are going to take a Buffalo. Now, again, I have nobody telling me that. I have
Just
no
gut.
intel.
It's your
It's just what I think at this point from evaluating it. And I'm following it, but I don't have like a magnifying glass on it. But I'm keeping an eye on all this stuff. And, I hear everything and see everything. But right now, I'd say they're going to take one of the two. But I finally have switched my thing for the first time on this podcast on our who the Browns taking it to. I believe it's Travis Hunter this week. I'm going to go off the Shedeur Sanders train.
Okay, I was actually just getting ready to ask you that. Yeah, so I'm still in the camp that I would draft Abdul Carter. I think there's so many flashy plays there with him that he's so explosive off the edge. I think he would be absolutely amazing opposite of Myles Garrett. But I'm with you. I've also changed mine from thinking it's going to be Carter to thinking that it's going to be Hunter. But when I watch the tape of Travis Hunter, I do want to dive in just a little bit. And he is a phenomenal athlete. I'm not taking it away from him. He obviously played elite level at receiver and corner. There's a reason that he is the Heisman Trophy winner. And he won the Biletnikoff Award, I believe, for receivers. Maybe I'm getting the award wrong. I know he won the best receiver in the country.
I forget which one it's called, too.
But he won the best receiver in the country. But there's something, I believe it was Mike Miller came out, or Matt Miller, the NFL draft scout, came out and said that Travis Hunter is Jamar Chase on offense and Denzel Ward on defense.
That's two all-pros.
There is no way. There is no way. Based off of, from me watching him, and like I said, he's a phenomenal player. I don't see the explosiveness of a Jamar Chase from Travis Hunter on offense. I don't see the elite ball skills of, defending a pass like I did with that when Denzel Ward was at Ohio State. I don't see that. I will say I do see the jump balls. I think he's a very good jump ball receiver, which is pretty impressive for being 6'1".
Yeah.
But I don't see Pro Bowl receiver, Pro Bowl corner, both of them. I just don't. But if you're going to get above average play from him at both positions, the Browns need above average play at both positions. So
the Browns need anything. And that's why, honestly, I know people are so, you got the staunch Abdul Carter folks, and you got the staunch Travis Hunter folks, and you got the staunch Shedeur Sanders folks. To me, honestly, and I know this is taking a cop-out answer, I'd be fine with any of these three guys. We need so much help. It's ridiculous. So, all three of these guys, I think, would help the team. And we need it. So, let's say on draft night that they take Shedeur Sanders. I'm not going to throw a fit. I'm not going to get upset. I'm going to say, hey, we need a quarterback because Kenneth Pickett ain't it.
rank Hunter, Carter, Sanders 1 through 3 on how pleased you, because clearly it sounds like you'd be happy with any of the three.
Yeah, and I don't mean to take a cop-out answer and not argue the point, but honest to God, I look at how awful our football team was last year that we loved so dearly, and I say, well, God, they were horrible. I mean, any of these guys would do wonders for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I just don't see it with Shedeur, man.
Sure.
I just don't.
I
go
know
ahead.
that.
Yeah.
But as far as do I think the impact that they'd have on the Browns in long term or next year in the 25 season?
Just when you hear the name, how excited you would be. Who would be out of those three? The one guy that you want out of those three more than the other two?
I'd probably still say I think that Abdul Carter is going to be a hell of a pro, man.
I do too.
And I think Hunter, though, to me is the most intriguing because I think there's he could be a good compliment to Jerry Jeudy, man, and then how much defense he'll play, that remains to be seen. Hunter is just going to be interesting to see, okay, how much of this is he actually going to do? How much of this is horse crap and pre-draft talk, and how much offense and defense is Travis Hunter really going to accomplish? Because I could see it truly being one of those things where he's a rookie. The jump from college football to the NFL is a steep enough jump already. I could see it being one of those two things where, okay, and I think I said this a long time ago on this podcast, and you probably remember this. I said a long time ago, it might be one of those things where in OTAs and minicamp, okay, he's playing both. Then like the third week of training camp, they're like, okay, we're going to have Travis focus on this. Like that, there's a good chance that ends up happening, in my opinion. And I'm not downgrading the kid or anything.
Right.
I just think the NFL it's really hard, man.
It's hard to be elite at one position.
Yes.
So he's trying to be elite at two.
But forgive me, I forget the name, but whoever the hell that draft scout is who said he's going to be Jamar Chase and Denzel Ward, if he's that, man, good Lord.
Oh, 100%. And I do believe I actually got it wrong. I think it was OBJ and Denzel Ward. But still, you get the point. Still
right,
absolutely
the point
absurd.
Is a phenomenal receiver and a phenomenal defensive back. And if he's that, man, oh my, the Browns, oh boy, they might win a few games.
So here's what I'll say about Travis Hunter, about him playing both ways. If I'm the Browns and I draft him, I do exactly what Deion Sanders said. I'm putting him on offense first. We'll let him figure out the defensive playbook whenever, because just the simplicity behind it. But if I'm the Browns, and this is my own take here, in wide receiver drills, maybe have him line up on some receivers, because he's going to be with that group. Maybe have them go against Travis Hunter, so he's not completely losing the touch of the position throughout practices. He's still honing in a little bit of corner skills while he's primarily a receiver for us in his rookie year potentially, and then maybe shift him into some defense his second, third year in the league. You know, he hasn't been out of practice from that position. He's still working with the receivers, guarding the receivers. But there was he was asked a question a few days ago, and I had tweeted about it, and it was a response that I was very much impressed with. And as I favor Abdul Carter now, it could very much flip me to wanting Travis Hunter over him. They had asked him, you know, with all the wide receiver meetings there are, with all the cornerback meetings how is there enough time to learn both of these positions, both these playbooks? And Travis Hunter's answer was, well, there's 24 hours in a day. I have 8 to sleep. Other 16, I focus on football. If that is his genuine mentality, that he is just when he rises in the morning and then when he goes to bed at night, if he is just doing football, thinking about football constantly, take him at 2. If he is that much of a grinder, take him at 2.
Well, producer Derek's shaking his head. He's not buying it. He's on the other side of the room shaking his head, you know. But I'll tell you this. I think
it was my comment of he is risen.
Yeah.
During Lent, too.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I doubt that's the case. And that's nothing against Travis Hunter, but I really do think, and, you know, going through this whole pre-draft process, a lot of people are going to say, well, these kids are cocky, they're arrogant. Well, of course they are. They were coached by one of the most cockiest guys on planet Earth, and Deion Sanders. But here's my thing that I really can honestly say about both these kids that I believe, and a lot of scouts and evaluators say it, they are good kids, and they do have a really hard work ethic. And you got to give them some credit, because these two kids, I mean, first of all, Jackson State was nothing before Prime and these two got there. Colorado football was horrendous before these two and Prime got there. So they have a backbone in that, and they can talk about the culture and the experience they have, because these kids have done it, and they're good kids. That being Travis and Shedeur.
Yeah, I think Travis Hunter gets more of a bad rep than he should in terms of being in the limelight, and, you know, he's a flashy play. You know, okay, he's one of those receivers / corners that when he makes a big play, he'll occasionally do the Heisman pose. When have we not seen that?
That's fine.
You know, like, that's completely fine with me. The thing that I think it gets roped into that because it is Deion and it is Shedeur. The more flashy stuff for me comes with Shedeur. You know, the flash in the wrist at the student sections, flashing his watch, and then there was a ball boy that he knocked the ball out of his hands and took the ball from him because it was his brother. Like, there's stuff like that where I'm like, okay, like, he comes off as a jerk. Like, it's not even necessary. Like, he can come off as a jerk. I have not seen that with Travis Hunter.
But honestly, I don't think Shedeur, I could see that. There's some cocky stuff there, but I do think they're both good kids. Like, I think that's a big thing you got to look at, because how many times are these kids who are in the top 10, they're not good kids, and then, you know, they have their trouble. And I mean, these two have been nothing but, you know, model citizens as far as off the field.
Yeah, well, That's a great point. And when it comes to the stuff off the field, I would like the Browns to just completely look the other way from it from now on. We've tried the Perrion Winfreys. We've tried the Antonio Callaways. Give it up. Like, these guys clearly do not care about football enough to make it a priority, no matter how talented they are, that they're going to be out of the league in 2-3 years.
Right.
So give it up.
Right. I completely agree. All right. Well, we'll be back for more silly season next week.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it'll be somebody different at 2.
Yeah, who knows? These rumors are flying off the handle. Well, let's talk a little Guardians baseball, huh?
Let's do it.
Get our final topic of the evening, as they are still winning, I believe, as of right now. We're recording this.
I saw they were up, I want to say, like 2-1 as soon as we started recording.
3-1 when we started,
3-1.
because Santana hit the homer.
Okay.
It's still 3-1, bottom of the 6th. Kevin, we talked about it last week. Kind of a rocky start, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And things did not go as planned in Anaheim. Lose 2 out of 3 to that. And look, I know the Angels got off to a hot start. Sorry, folks. I think they're going to be garbage by the end of the year.
Sure.
If they're not, I'll eat my words on that and I'll be shocked, but I don't think they're going to be any good. Just, I don't want to freak out. It was good that they beat the White Sox yesterday. You should always beat the White Sox. They're historically a bad team. Walk-off walk.
Nolan Jones.
Nolan Jones. But I will give the kid credit. Actually, 2 pitches before that, he missed a walk-off grand slam by about 3 feet.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see the game, unfortunately, yesterday.
I was down there yesterday.
Okay.
I had a good time.
Yeah.
Shout out to my friends. We had a lot of fun down there yesterday. Maybe too much fun, for me included. But I tell you, 2 pitches before that, he hit a ball about 3 feet foul. He got a 3-1 fastball, and he didn't
miss it.
He did,
but a little bit.
Yeah, he was just a little bit early on it. But good job by Ben Lively yesterday, and I think Ben Lively continues to just be rock solid. And even last week when he got roughed up in San Diego, it wasn't his fault. He had bad defense.
Yeah.
And
speaking of bad defense,
yeah, let's get to it, because they are the worst defensive team in the American League in the early going. And look, this is a team that's not talented enough and doesn't have enough talent to be bad at defense. Like, they need to play perfect defense. And it's got to start with your leader and your best player, who's been awful so far at defense this year.
Yep.
That's just shocking. I mean, the guy had 9 errors all year last year.
He's got 5 now.
Tonight was his 5th as we record this on Wednesday. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Jose Ramirez's glove. Like, what's up with that?
No,
Everybody's shocked by it.
No idea. Absolutely no idea. Maybe it's time we look at finally moving Jose to DH. Maybe Nolan Jones, the third baseman of the future. No, I'm kidding. That's not going to happen. Jose's going to be at third for the foreseeable future, obviously.
Yeah.
The big problem I have with this team right now is that last year they were a team that made the playoffs and went to the ALCS because they prided themselves on just making contact with the baseball. We'll see where the baseball goes, and playing elite defense. And they're swinging and missing, striking out more than ever, and playing horrible defense.
Yeah, now they are hitting for more power so far this year, which is a good thing. The problem that I have with them is the defense has been horrendous, and then the hitting with runners in scoring position has been atrocious. I mean, just downright atrocious. I mean, look, I get it. Yesterday was not a day that favored the bats by anybody. I mean, it was a freezing cold home opener down there. But, dude, to get no hit by the White Sox for 7, give me a break. Come on. Like, that was
pathetic.
That was almost disgusting.
We won on a walk-off walk in the home opener to the worst team in baseball.
Yeah.
We won 1-0.
So, good thing is they're up 3-1 right now. Hopefully you sweep this series. And if you sweep, I think you'll have everybody feeling better, because then Kansas City comes back in this weekend. And obviously I think that's going to be a rival all year long. And, I mean, right now you got to be worried because Detroit looks awesome. I mean, they just took 2 or 3 from the Bronx Bombers.
That's our favorite to win the AL Central, I should say.
Yeah, and so far we look pretty darn right on that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to go crazy, but there are some, things that, okay, we're now 10 games into this thing. Like, let's not make these trends. Like, Jose, I mean, you're the best. Like, look, there's so much pressure on the guy every year, but he's got to play defense. Like, he's got to. Like, it's inexcusable. Rocchio not playing great defense either to start the year. He's making some fantastic plays, but missing the easy ones. To be honest, the best infield defender so far has been Santana.
Yeah, and Santana's a good defender. He's been a great defender throughout his entire career.
Yeah, and he finally got rewarded with a Gold Glove. One thing I did want to hit on guards wise here. People need to stop with the Josh Naylor stuff, and the reason I'm going to say that, guys, look, Carlos Santana's hitting 300 right now. He has 2 home runs. His OPS is over 800. We're not really losing anything in the fact that Josh isn't here. Why people are mad, and I get it, the return for Josh Naylor was just entirely unacceptable.
Yeah, there's no – I think that's what – people aren't upset that Carlos Santana replaced Josh Naylor. I think it's that we could also have Josh Naylor in this lineup somewhere, and we've talked about positionless baseball. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Maybe they're able to find out something that works with them. Who knows? But just the fact that they got literally nothing for him is what's so frustrating about it. He's hitting 300, hit his first bomb of the year tonight, I believe, for the Diamondbacks. So, yeah. I mean, it is frustrating, though, just knowing we got nothing, and he's had a great start to the year.
And Slade Ciccone, I just don't have much confidence he'll develop into anything.
Neither do I. And I'm going to be one of those guys that's going to be very boring to listen to throughout the year, to be quite honest with you, because I feel like when it comes to the NFL, MLB, NBA, when it comes to our, the Browns, Cavs, Guardians, I feel like I'm most even keel with the Guardians in terms of losses and wins and win streaks, loss streaks, losing streaks. Unless they get to 10 to 15 games below 500, you probably will not hear me hit the panic button.
Oh,
unless it's halfway, 3/4 through the year or something like that, and we're 10 to 15 games behind, then I'll start to be like, okay, we got to step it up. But
and I'm quite the opposite. Kevin's got to talk me off the ledge almost every time they lose.
For the most part.
I freak out, yeah. Thank God they won yesterday. They're winning again tonight. Hopefully they turn it over. Nice thing was yesterday was Lively was outstanding. And like I said, I can't say enough about Ben Lively. Look, when they signed him, I literally laughed out loud. I laughed at it. I was like, this guy from Korea you think is going to be a part of your road. The guy saved them last year, and it looks like he's going to be one of the most consistent starters again this year. And he doesn't impress anybody. He doesn't blow up the radar gun. His fastball sits at 89, 90. The guy just trusts his stuff, pitches the contact, and throws strikes. And quite honestly, Ben Lively is just turned into a stalwart in this rotation.
He's basically what Josh Tomlin was for us in 2016.
Yeah,
I think
even better. He's a better Josh Tomlin.
Yeah, I would say he's been a better
rich
Josh
man's
Tomlin.
Josh Tomlin.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
There you go. So, no, and it was nice to see that some of those bullpen guys who've got off to a little bit of a rocky start yesterday. Sewald and Clase in particular, both pitched pretty well yesterday. Obviously, the White Sox are going to make everybody
look better than
look better.
They're going to inflate some numbers,
but maybe sometimes you need a team like the White Sox so you can just beat the hell out of them, and then you
get your confidence back.
You feel good going into a series against a good team like Kansas City.
A competent MLB team, absolutely. You start seeing the ball a little bit better.
Yep.
Love the way the ball cracks off the bat. Yeah,
absolutely. So, all right. Well, we'll probably talk a little more guards again next week. Kevin, it's time for.
Is it odds and ends time?
It's time for the odds and ends. So
let's go.
How about the Florida Gators are the net 2025 national champions. Congrats to them. Their first title since 2007. Kevin, they beat Houston and actually had to make a hell of a comeback effort, really.
Yeah, and why are we starting these games at 9 p.m.? Can somebody tell me? Because I had to wake up and watch the second half highlights because I fell asleep at halftime.
Same.
Unbelievable.
I had to get up early the next day. I was unfortunately able to watch it live either. I've never understood why the college basketball championship starts at 9 o'clock. I mean, I guess I could get it for the West Coast folks, but for us East Coast folks, it's a late night on a Monday.
So I feel like 8 o'clock is just such a prime time for the country. Like if there's going to be something that the entire country wants to watch, like 8 o'clock is the perfect start time.
8 o'clock Eastern?
Yeah, 8 o'clock our time.
Okay, so Eastern time. So I guess 7 puts it 7, 6, and 5. I guess so. Anyway, Florida wins it all. And Houston, they had a historic historic comeback against Duke with a historic collapse.
Yeah, your Blue Devils.
Yeah, my Devils with a historic collapse. It was not fun to see. But I will say this. It was kind of ironic, though, that Houston did that and then got to the title game and ended up blowing a 12-point lead.
That is funny.
Went around for them.
Poetic justice, some might call it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Duke collapses. I have an interesting question, though, here for you in odds and ends.
Oh.
There's some scuttlebutt that Cooper Flagg may come back to Duke. Do you think it's a lot of BS, or you think there's actually a real chance he comes back to Duke? With NIL, man, it's more interesting than it once was.
I think it would actually be better for Cooper Flagg's career if he stayed another year. And
I think
that
so,
might
too.
be a hot take, but when I was watching him throughout, and Cooper Flagg's a phenomenal. He's supposed to be a senior in high school. It's very impressive that he is the best player in the country, and he's basically a year younger than the youngest player. And
right.
So there were a lot of things. I saw him get stopped a lot. Like when he was in the post, I saw him have some trouble with some post moves, some inconsistent jumpers. Even in crunch time in the clutch against Florida, right? Against Florida, he missed that shot to put him ahead.
Or Houston.
Yes, Houston.
Yeah,
I apologize. Yeah, he missed that shot but I think there's some stuff. Like I don't think he's right now. And this might be a hot take. I think if he went number 1 overall in the draft right now, I would say that he's probably going to be a bust.
Really?
That's what I would. I think if he waits another year, I think another year in college, I think would do him wonders. But there are stuff that I don't see stuff that I saw with Wembanyama, even with Zion, and Zion's career has been derailed due to injuries and stuff. But I don't see the superstar that a lot of people see when I watch Cooper Flagg, and I don't know why that is, but it's just something.
I got to tell you, I'm coming in polar opposite here. I do see the superstar, but for me, if I'm Cooper Flagg and I think, boy, I can make some money, but I got to play for the Washington Wizards, who are historically awful. I mean, they're a bad franchise, and they have been for a long time. Or I can make $5 million, play with my boys at Duke again, and then try to run this thing back.
Maybe win a national championship,
right.
Develop my game more.
Yes, and we got stopped in the Final Four because we had a historic collapse. That's going to motivate them as a team.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, it's hard now year to year in college basketball because the teams just don't stay the same with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And things change. Which one odds and ends thing, I saw the other day that over 1,800 college basketball players had entered the portal since the end of the season. Is that...
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think this is one of the major cons of NIL.
Yeah.
Major.
Yeah.
Like, I remember just growing up, being 10, 12 years old, watching the freshmen that came into Notre Dame, and I just remember, just from my experience watching the football, the Michael Floyds that came out, and I saw a couple big catches his freshman year, and I was like, I hope that guy turns into something. And then just watching him grow throughout the years.
There's none of that anymore.
There's none of it anymore,
Nope.
man. It's very like that. I loved that.
That's
gone. Loved
gone.
that.
It's gone by the wayside, man. So I actually think there's a good chance Cooper Flagg stays too. I do.
Do you think he stays with Duke, or do you think he just stays in college?
I think if he stays, it's going to be with Duke.
Do you imagine if he transferred to North Carolina?
Oh, that would be.
Oh,
brutal.
you would be furious.
Oh, I would be so angry.
I think it'd be hilarious to see him in a Tar Heel uniform, actually.
Yeah, you'd find it funny. It would make.
I would so much.
My blood would
hilarious.
boil. It would make my blood boil. So, all right. Well, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, right?
That's about it for the week. So make sure to like us. We are available on 3 different platforms. That's right, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And we'd like if you would give us a thumbs up on all 3 of those platforms and subscribe on any of those 3 existing platforms.
Yeah, and
would be
obviously
wonderful.
Follow us on TikTok, Instagram.
We're there.
X.
We're
at
there.
CLE Sports Realm on all platforms. Appreciate any and all support. It's been great so far, 23 episodes in, huh?
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun, and we hope you enjoy listening too. And thanks to our loyal listeners who listen to every episode. We appreciate you guys. You are the reason that we do what we do, and we enjoy it, and we have a lot of fun with it. And, we hope to continue and enlighten folks about Cleveland sports because we enjoy doing this thing. So make sure to give us all the support. We really do appreciate that. Thanks so much, everybody. Derek, great job on the other side of the room. Hell of a job. No complaints from you. You did a good job too. I
Thanks,
think
man.
I think I was okay.
Yeah, you did well.
And that'll be all right. That'll be it for this week's episode. We'll talk to you guys next week on CSR.
Go Tribe.